Now, the crisis in Rivers State doesn't seem to be near its end with all the acts of violence which have taken place in the aftermath of the local government elections in the state. While the Rivers State government has constituted a Judicial Commission of Inquiry to probe the widespread violence and fatalities that erupted in the state on Monday, many wonder how much damage will be recorded when this political strife comes to an end.
Meanwhile, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has accused Governor Siminalayi Fubara of being the architect of violence in the state, saying that the governor was wrong to go ahead with the local government election. Siminalayi Fubara, on the other hand, has called for peace to reign, stating that Wike doesn't need to win every fight. Joining us this morning is Dr Emma Okah, lawyer and former Rivers State Commissioner for Information and Housing under Governors Celestine Omehia and Nyesom Wike. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. You've seen the chaos that has, started to unravel in Rivers State. The people of Rivers State have now resorted to playing security for themselves against actors that some would refer to as maybe state actors disguised in, different means. But I'd ask you what your thoughts are regarding what Nyesom Wike has said. He said that the local government elections should not have happened and that Siminalayi Fubara is the architect of violence in Rivers State.
Thank you very much. I heard him say so, but my reaction is that it is very unfortunate because we are here to still be far from getting these problems resolved. I don't know how the FCT minister have become the accuser and the prosecutor and the judge at the same time. If a matter is pending before the appropriate court and the court makes an order, albeit injunctive or otherwise, it is for the court to protect its integrity and order. It is not for anybody in the mold of those who are burning and looting and destroying various council secretariats to do so. So for the FCT minister to justify their action simply because they disobeyed a court order points clearly to what everyone here knows, that he certainly knows much more than we know about those destructions that took place in the councils. So I don't agree with him. If there is a breach of court order or injunction, the court is imbued with inherent powers to protect its integrity and orders. It doesn't need any third party to do that for it, because the court is acting under the laws of our land. In any case, let us even assume that there are such breaches. Should resort to this calculated degree of violence be the option? So where is the rule of law? Are we in an animal kingdom? If everybody began taking up arms against judgments that they didn't like or against reported cases of breaches of court order, where would Nigeria be? We would have gone into flames all this while. Yeah. So that excuse and that explanation, in my view, is thoroughly laughable. Yeah. And he has brought down the FCT minister much lower than many of us had thought.
Yeah, I mean, some of the people that we spoke with yesterday, who were, of course, one of the local government officers, said that the FCT minister and former governor, Nyesom Wike, is fully behind the violence and the chaos that has occurred in Rivers State in the last long while. Do you agree with that? And that includes some of these thugs that went on to attack the local government offices. Would you say that Nyesom Wike is fully behind them or at least responsible for them?
We are reversible. We understand how these things work. You don't need to come down here to physically be involved in what is happening. But through subterranean moves, body language and all of that, we know, we understand. We also know those local governments that we are prone to, this kind of crisis. We know how the formal administration in those local governments, have been reacting towards the governor of Rivers State since this crisis started. So, except for those who don't live here, everyone here knew that the local government, for instance, was going to be witness this level of wanton destruction intentionally. And Emma Okah local government, of course, we knew he was going to suffer the same fate. And the same goes for Eleme local government. they were properly predicted, and they just happened according to predictions. So, well, it's easy. It's maybe because God does not act the way men act. Otherwise, you cannot threaten the people this way. Go ahead and execute it, and then at the end of the day, you are still having the guts to begin to point accusing fingers at innocent people and all of that.
All right.
So
Just to confirm.
my word for the FCT minister and those who are working with him is that there's always a day of reckoning for everyone for all that we do. It's simply as that. Of course, like I said yesterday, those facilities will be rebuilt with the people's money, but all is not avoidable. And if you check the ethnic configuration of Rivers State, you will see that the Ijaw local government did not tamper with any of the council secretariats. They allowed their local governments to be. It's only on the Kwere side, and maybe the one that happened at Eleme, who felt that, they needed to impress somebody, up there by going to destroy government property, which had served their interest, forgetting that the same government resources will be used, public resources will be used to restore those things. So who is losing? At the end of the day, it's the people of Rivers State that are losing, as it were. But we'll not forget, our people will not forget.
Just to quickly confirm,
a day of reckoning must come.
All right, just to quickly confirm, you served under former Governor Nyesom Wike's cabinet. You were sworn in on the 12th of June 2015 as a House Commissioner, correct?
Correct.
All right. Talk to us about how it was serving
I served as Housing Commissioner. I also served as Information Commissioner 2 years each.
Great. Talk to us about how it was serving in Nyesom Wike's cabinet when he was governor. The quality of his character at the time, his style of leadership, and how he has become this also powerful figure over the years that seems not to be able to be disciplined by the People's Democratic Party.
Well, I don't want to be very judgmental about what happened while we were in government, because that is gone now. But I also don't need to tell Nigerians about the character of the FCT minister. All these are in the public domain. But I don't find him a good and fair leader who fears God. It's as simple as that. For him, power and money is everything. Once he's able to get that, any other thing can happen. That's my fair assessment of him.
Now, why I ask this question is because we want to be able to observe what might have been the trajectory. You had a first-hand experience. There are people who argue now that Siminalayi Fubara is trying to dismantle a structure that he may end up using. So there's a fear that when people come into government, sometimes they start out right, and at the end of the day, power intoxicates, and when they've created their own structure, they try to manipulate it for their own will. So it's why we are asking, what it was like, what your personal experience was with him, and, what you think might have influenced this part, grab that has occurred and has made him a very powerful figure. But, I mean, if you can speak to that would be great.
Thank you very much. Many of us know that the marriage between the FCT minister and the governor was not going to last long. Clearly, we understand it. Because to put it softly, he likes to occupy his space and would not want any other person to be visible. And so merely handing over, as painful as it was, we knew it was just a temporary relief and that he was going to come back to want to take over the space. And we saw all that happen. Don't forget that even after leaving office, he was the one who nominated over 90% of the commissioners and the aides and handed them over to the governor. Who does that kind of a thing? If every predecessor did that to their successor, how would the society move forward? In any case, nobody even did that for the FCT minister when he was governor here. And to put it very mildly, I think that Governor Fubara is a very peace-loving person. And any predecessor that has a man like that, should thank his stars every day and glorify God every day. Because here is a man who was told to sit, he will sit. Stand up, he will stand up. Appoint so and so, he would appoint. Eat so and so food in the morning, he will eat. Don't allow Mr. ABC visit you until your tenure finishes. It's okay. Don't come to Abuja to attend meetings so that other politicians don't begin to feed you with hostile ideas. He would agree. So despite doing all of this, many of us are asking, what else will be required of the governor of Rivers State to do to please his predecessor? So that points to the character of the predecessor, a dominant and domineering man who does not brood any secondary opinion. That's who he has been. You Nigerians know this much about him. We saw it all. He was governor, he's still minister, and all of that.
Yeah.
Today it's easy to sanctimoniously preach to be that nice person who obeys rule of law, throwing shade at the governor and all that. It's okay, but no matter how much he tries to justify what has happened in Rivers State, a lot of Nigerians, a majority of Rivers people know that he is the cause of the problem that has been in the state since he left office. Because he wants to be here as governor through the back door and also remain in Abuja as FCT minister. Simple and clear.
All right. If you've described Sim Fubara as a very loyal and maybe even obedient successor to Nyesom Wike, you've even said that some of the things that you mentioned, which is don't allow this person to visit you, do not come to Abuja. Were those some of the things that Nyesom Wike had demanded of Sim Fubara when he became governor? And then also, at what point did their falling apart start? What is the real reason behind the breaking their relationship?
There are two types of pig in the bush. One is the one that comes to your farm and destroys your products and run away after eating them up. The second one is the one that comes to the farm, eats off your product, and waits for the owner of the farm to attack him. That is the exact situation where we are today. There's a limit to how any man can take certain instructions. You cannot tell him, even your own child, there's a limit to how you can tell a child to do certain things, and continue to have the level of compliance, 100% compliance you require. Once you cross that line, even a baby will cry and will be crying. And while the baby is crying, you too will be awake to pacify the baby. That's where we are. And yes, allow a governor to do his job. Once you don't allow him to do his job, there will be rebellion at some point. There will be resistance at some point. So that resistance is what gave rise to the present crisis. Take, for instance, what is one of the reasons? Commissioners were nominated for the governor, and he appointed them, and they were working with him. Some of them will take their memo to a third party, discuss the memo, discuss approval, before they come to the governor to present the memo to the governor. So there were two governments, so to speak, as it were, one in Rivers State, the other in outside Rivers State. Now, the governor only appointed the present commissioner for information, and heaven broke loose. Just one appointment, only heaven broke loose. A sitting governor and governor of Rivers State, who would take that? Let's face it, who would take that? So these are some of the underlying reasons why the relationship broke down. But like I said, we knew the relationship was going to break down. But what many of us didn't see coming is that the relationship was going to break down much earlier.
All right.
Than we thought.
Sorry to spend too much time talking about this particular one, because I also wanted to talk about the role of the presidency and the police and other maybe interested parties. But what you're describing here is a situation where Sim Fubara was okay with being subservient, loyal to Nyesom Wike, and of course him appointing commissioners for him, maybe even nominating House of Assembly members and the likes for him. But, I mean, it maybe got to a stage where he then said, oh, this is too much. So are you saying now that if it didn't get to that stage, Fubara would have been fine with Nyesom Wike helping him run the affairs of government in Rivers State, just as much as he doesn't get to this breaking point?
Like I said, there should be limits to everything. There is time for everything. Even the Bible says that. No successor will be better than Fubara. Any predecessor governor who has a man in the mood of Governor Fubara in Rivers State, like I said, should go for Thanksgiving every day, as it were. We have cases where other governors have served out their term. They have had to go. Akwa Ibom is there. Quite a few other states are there. You know, look at Lagos State, for instance, and all that. Yes, even when you have to, you know, interfere with the administration, you do it with some measure of responsibility, and sometimes behind the scene. But you don't brazenly come and tell a tiger that he must eat a grass when you know that he has to feed on flesh. And yes, he continued to eat that grass just to make you happy. And at the end of the day, even all those sacrifices, you know, we are not appreciated until matters got to the heat where we are.
Yeah,
today.
I mean, so it's pretty much the same thing, you know.
That's the unfortunate situation we found ourselves.
So it's pretty much the same thing. It still sounds like Fubara was willing to play ball until maybe it got to a breaking point, and then he could no longer, you know, accept it because it was too much. But initially, he was willing to, you know, of course, you know, play ball with Nyesom Wike's orders. But we might come back to this. Let's quickly talk about the statement from the presidency. Many people have asked President Bola Tinubu to wade in and, of course, you know, create some level of peace between these two factions. The statement that was released, as read by, or at least released by Bayo Ononuga on behalf of the presidency, seemed to mention mostly Fubara and ignore the FCT minister. Why do you think that is? And of course, did you expect a better response from the presidency?
Well, as a former chief press secretary, I know that sometimes we use words or interpret situations to also portray our biases, so to speak. The president would not come himself to draft statements, as it were, and does also not necessarily need to read statements, you know, put out there by the media aides, as it were. Well, in reference to the governor of Rivers State in that press statement has been interpreted differently by different people. Yes, I've had some people who said, oh, the governor of Rivers State's name was mentioned because he's the chief security officer, you know, of the state, so to speak. But I will align myself with the position of the governor of Rivers State, who said, Mr. President, sir, I think you should also have mentioned the name of the people or the name of the leader of the people who are causing the destruction in Rivers State. Because we believe, the reason why I say so is this, we believe that the president has access to superior intelligence gathering system. And everybody on ground in Rivers State would have told him through his intelligence network who is causing the problem. So when you leave out the man who is causing the problem, and then you begin to point at an innocent person, people begin to wonder whether, first, are you appreciating what we're seeing here? Or do you understand what the situation on ground is? Or are you trying to please somebody at the expense of the lives and property of the people of Rivers State? So these things leave doubts. But if the intention of Mr. President is to say, Chief Security Officer of Rivers State, the Governor of Rivers State, please make sure you do everything within your powers to contain the situation with the assistance of the security agents. Fine, we can understand that. But if you must call out names of people who should stand up for peace, please, the name of the FCT minister should have been mentioned first before that of the governor. That's how I see it. But I do not think that Mr. President wants to over-interfere. The only worry we have here is that even the previous intervention he did, yes, as bitter as it was, we swallowed it. People here swallowed it painfully. The situation does not appear to be abating. And because one person appears to be taking the heat, the governor is taking the heat most of the time. And we don't want him to get a breaking point. We also don't want our people to get to a point where it will become difficult to manage them. Niger Delta has been a very volatile region, we all know, for a very long time now. If you don't manage the peace, if you don't manage the situation here well, it could generate into a conflagration that will consume a lot of people and also impact negatively on national assets. And when that happens, naturally oil production will be affected. And Nigeria needs every drop of crude oil it can produce today to be able to shore up its economic situation, as it were.
All right.
So this is what is making the governor all the time wanting to show by his nature that he's a man of eminent peace. And we must appreciate this fact about him. He's not a coward, certainly cannot be called a coward.
All right.
Even if by nature he's a coward, the office he occupies today makes him a lion. And if he decides to fight back or decides to, through his body language, allow his supporters to also go and defend themselves or resist this frequent intrusion and destruction of property of council secretariats, for instance, you and I can guess clearly what the consequences will be like. But we pray that the situation doesn't get to that point. And that's why we think that Mr. President should intervene appropriately.
There are many people that need to intervene at this point.
Call it a spade, a spade.
There are many people who need to intervene at this point or who have been asked to intervene. The presidency, the People's Democratic Party that seems to be very silent. Chinyere seems to be the one that is speaking very loudly. And I mean, just so many sides of the divide, different arguments, but we'll keep updating the conversation as we get further reports in the story. Thank you so much, Dr. Emma Okah, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.